and wanted to put it into private hands. And the GOP was like, ah! All right, so I think that the reaction demonstrates either one of two things, for sure. One, that the GOP will freak out no matter what Obama does. He could literally be like, I'm going to build a Ronald Reagan memorial. And they'd be like, I don't know if that's good spending. I don't know if that's a good plan, right? Or that there is something still there. There's some residual thing about NASA that people still care about. And I think that's what the asked argument has to be, that you have to pick up on that residual thing that people still care about NASA, right? In particular, this can demonstrate what that is. It's both jobs, right, and just going to space is kind of cool. It's a tangible thing that people like. But I think that, in general, I think the first thing I said, that the GOP is just more kind of reacting to Obama than the fact that they really want more NASA, I think that's more the case than the fact that they really like NASA. But there might be still some people who really care about NASA still. All right, so what does the GOP really think about space projects? I've got this card. It's a bit long, but I think that it demonstrates that the GOP leadership, and particularly Boehner, recently, has not voted for NASA. The Republicans don't like it, but it's all comes back to the same issue we've been talking about repeatedly: budgets, 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 right? That's what the space politics debate is. It's how are we going to pay for this? Republicans, in particular, want to cut spending, yes? There's no way we can. I don't think it's. I think it's pretty hard to win that the GOP would really be really psyched about doing the plan, unless it's something. I don't know. Can anyone think of something that the GOP would really like that would be affirmative?
Doing nothing.
What? Constellation project? Okay, maybe the Constellation project, but I think my previous argument is that they weren't really for it. They were just for it because Obama was against it. All right. What about the Tea Party? Yeah, and they actually do have this website. You should Google it. You're on the internet right now. Tea Party in Space. It exists. I found it out via Twitter. But I actually, more proof that I can cut a card, or my lad can cut a card about anything. The Tea Party does have a platform on NASA. Clearly, part of the core constitutional mission of the United States, NASA. So, what is the Tea Party in Space platform? They hope will NASA return to its roots as a research and development agency. The tenants call for a zero-G, means zero tax arrangement. And they want Congress to cancel all existing shuttle, Ares space launch system contracts in order to force the termination of an $11 billion earmark included in the NASA authorization law, and for NASA to competitively bid for the development of human exploration and transportation capabilities. Whoa. What does that mean? Seneca? They want to cut the whole thing, pretty much. They want to still exist a little bit. And who would be doing most of the space travel in the Tea Party world? What? The private sector, exactly. It's that area of commercial spaceflight. So there are some apps that will do things like commercial spaceflight, right? Or at least maybe the counterplan, right? And that would be popular with the Tea Party, which is what we've kind of talked about a little bit before, right? Or at least people trying to appease the Tea Party might be in favor of that, right? Okay. All right. Putting some of this knowledge into action. Researching space politics. Spacepolitics.com. It's a really good site. They have basically, it's a blog, and they have daily kind of analysis of what's going on in Congress and its relationship to space policy, and in particular things that have to do with NASA's budget, people who support NASA, those who don't support NASA, that kind of stuff. And I think that going to sites like this can really help you keep up to date on what's happening generally with NASA, even if it doesn't have to do specifically with your app, right? NASA might not actually be considering, sending a monument to space or whatever it is that your app does, but you can kind of keep up to date on what's going on in the world of space politics. Space Policy Online is also pretty good. It's more of a background site, but they have reports all the time that are really good on the question of what's going on in terms of the politics of it. In terms of keeping up with these, I would recommend an RSS feed. Who knows what an RSS feed is?
Same thing.
In the front here.
Just like combines a bunch of different websites together.
Yeah, it combines a bunch of website feeds together. What you get is an RSS feed reader, like Google Reader is what I use, and you take that and you put in RSS feeds. So I have an RSS feed for spacepolitics.com. I've got one for Space Policy Online. I've got one for a bunch of other websites, and it will actually do Google searches for me. So I have a Google search that does a search for asteroids every day. It comes up in my Google Reader, and I can see every news article that has happened about asteroids. You can also do Obama and NASA Google search happens. All of the news articles that would come up, and I could have that, and I don't have to go out and go to these websites every single day, and it just comes into my box or my my internet, my homepage actually is Google Reader, and I can see what is happening and things that change every single day. In fact, today there was a really good interview in Space Daily about asteroid deflection. Who knew, right? And I think this is one of the most important things you can do if you want to be a really good politics debater, is to keep up with the news, and I think RSS feeds are one way to do that. I also think Twitter is a really great way to do that. I know this is kind of crazy. It's not just for texting your friends anymore. Twitter also, NASA tweets a lot, Space Policy tweets a lot, NASA Watch tweets a lot, Tea in Space, the Tea Party also tweets about space. All right, there are lots of these, and once you find a couple, you can start following a bunch of them. And one thing I would recommend is to just follow them on Twitter, follow their websites, and that way you don't have to go out and see what's happening, right? I didn't do a search about which parties NASA was throwing, right, last week. I just was on Twitter and I was like, what is this business with the party that's going on? And I saw that there was like a big hubbubaloo. And you can see that all of the time if you just follow people on Twitter. It's a great way to keep up with the news. Debating space politics. Some tips. I decided to give devote a substantial portion of this lecture to the question of history and context of space policy for a reason. Not just because I like it and I find it interesting, but mainly because I think that's what forms the basis of debating and understanding what's going on currently in terms of space politics. You should, when you are debating, use your historic and contextual knowledge to make arguments about what's happening currently. This will be a mega plus extra speaker point bonus, plus probably a win or two. If you are able to say, look, it's not the Cold War anymore, there's no justification for NASA, or look, it's a lot like Sputnik. We have to out-compete China, right? That's why the plan is popular, right? See how you can use that contextual knowledge to make arguments that are broader than just the plan talks, political capital, blah, 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 right? No, I'd like you to understand what I'm saying. Good. All right. So you need to use that to make arguments that make sense kind of in the broader spectrum. And that's what the kind of trick to debating politics is. People think it's just like, oh, what do I do to debate politics? I just read a bunch of really short cards that don't make any sense together, right? No, it's about painting a broader picture about what's going on in the world. Staying up to date on current events. This is why I recommend Twitter and RSS feeds. A lot of times people debate politics without knowing what's going on in Congress, which is amazing to me. In fact, here's something that's really important about debating politics. Your camp file that we've done will probably be okay. It will probably be okay. About the South Korea Free Trade Agreement, it will probably still be a diss-out later in the year. But I remember, this is kind of atypical, but at one year at camp, I cut one about the Central American Free Trade Agreement at the Bart Debate Institute in like, a year long ago. I cut a diss-out about the Central American Free Trade Agreement. I put it out in the camp file. Fast forward to, I think, November, I was judging a student who was at the camp, in fact, was in my lab. And he read the Central American Free Trade Agreement and said, well, that would be okay if the Central American Free Trade Agreement had not already passed Congress a few months prior to that. All right? He was like, I read it because I thought you'd like it. No. Here's the worst part. The act did not say anything about how it had already passed and how all the cards in July. They actually just read cards that answered it from their camp file from July. So we just debated as if it were July. And that's how I decided the debate. I was like, well, I don't know what to do because we're existing in this kind of alternate universe where it's July still, right? I don't even know, right? So this whole deal with the debt ceiling is probably the most political issue that's happening right now, but it's only happening right now, yes? So all of our uniqueness parts that we cut are kind of in the context of the budget and other stuff, right? That's something that will not exist when you have your first debate this year. Everybody with me? When you have your first debate, all of the issues will be different. At least slightly, right? There will be big things that are similar. The budget will probably still be a deal. But the debt ceiling, fingers crossed, right, will not be an issue in September because we'll have defaulted on our loans by then, right? All right, so stay and pay on current events. And I think that's why I think having the RSS feeds and other things that bring the news to you can help, right? Does anybody read the hard copy newspaper in the morning? Okay, LaDonna does. I don't know, we can also get you some index cards to debate off of, right? Okay, good.
Just right.
It's okay. But people don't do that anymore, so you have to kind of go out and find that news for yourself. My third piece of advice is to try to find some nuance in politics. I have talked to my lab about this, but I think that in general, people tend to debate politics as just its political capital, and that's it, right? But I don't know, this might blow your mind, but before, there was